In 1990, sick soldier's terrifying secret was revealed: a sinister, cursed encounter awaits. Claire stared at the faded photograph she'd discovered in the attic, a sepia-toned snapshot of sick soldiers, smiles plastered across their faces like masks hiding secrets. One of them looked eerily like Mr. Donovan, the seemingly kind old man next door. What did he have to do with this? The air felt heavy, electric with unspoken dread, sending a shiver down her spine. She took a deep breath, clutching the photo tightly, but dread lingered, curling around her throat like a noose. Jake hadn't come out of his room all day. Not since his father was deployed. Instead, he moped around the house, a shadow of the boy he used to be. Claire's heart pounded. Was he despairing over his father's absence, or was there something more? She could feel the distance growing like a chasm between them, a silence filling the space where laughter used to echo. As night crept in, Claire's senses heightened. Every creak of the settling house felt ominous. She decided to confront Mr. Donovan the next day, hoping curiosity would provide answers. But when she broached the topic of the soldiers, his demeanor changed. The warmth in his voice faded, replaced by an icy resolve. They were heroes. You don't need to know anything more. His eyes darted away, a flicker of something dark hidden in the deep creases of his face. A chill settled in her gut. Then things began to spiral. One morning, she woke to find her keys missing again. That evening, soft whispers floated through the halls, just beyond hearing, like a ghostly wind. Claire jumped at shadows. Jake became more withdrawn, sitting by the window, staring blankly into the darkness. "Mom," he'd whisper, "it feels like something is watching us. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The tension thickened, each passing day feeling like a countdown to something terrible. Local authorities brushed aside Claire's concerns, their skepticism like slap to her frayed nerves. She felt isolated, haunted by the feeling that the very walls of her home were closing in. Jake's gaze grew darker with each sunset, and Claire's pleas for connection turned into desperate cries. Then came the night that would forever change everything. She opened Jake's bedroom door to find it empty, his bed untouched, a chill wrapping around her like a suffocating shroud. Heart racing, Claire dashed into the night, fear shattering her sanity. The streets lay quiet, shadows stretching oddly, pulsing with unease. It was then she confronted Mr. Donovan, panic clawing at her throat. "Where's my son?" His response was chilling, eyes glinting with unsettling knowledge. "He has taken the path many cannot return from." As the weight of his words sunk in, Claire felt the walls closing, night stretching as terror blurred her vision. What ties did he hold to that cursed photograph? With spiraling dread, definition blurred between protector and predator as Claire faced the looming shadows chasing her into darkness. Could she unearth the truth before it consumed them both? Claire's breath came in quick, shallow gasps as her heart raced against the darkness that enveloped her. Desperation clawed at her throat, making it hard to swallow. The streets were unsettlingly quiet, each rustle of leaves and distant howl of a dog sounding like a death knell. She clutched the photograph tightly, as if it possessed some kind of power to ward off the lurking shadows. "Jake!" she shouted, her voice echoing against the looming trees that seemed to lean in closer, as if eager to eavesdrop on her fear. She turned down the dimly lit path leading to the old park where they used to play, heart hammering louder with each step. But there was no sign of her son. The suffocating silence pressed against her ears. She darted her eyes around, searching for any movement. Suddenly, a flicker in the corner of her vision caught her attention. She turned sharply, her breath hitching as she spotted a figure standing under the flickering streetlight. It had an unnatural stillness, almost blending with the shadows. "Is anyone there?" Her voice trembled. The figure remained motionless, shrouded in a dark silhouette, and panic surged within her. What was it? A part of her wanted to flee, to escape this nightmarish reality. But another part, fueled by maternal instinct, drew her closer. "Jake!" She called again, louder this time, desperation threading through her voice. The figure stepped out from the darkness. It was Mr. Donovan. "Claire," he said, his voice eerily calm, "you're looking for something you can't understand." The fear swelled inside her, swirling like a tempest. "Where is my son?" she demanded, sensing the smirk that danced just beneath his lips. His eyes glinted with a maddening knowledge. "You shouldn't have poked your nose where it doesn't belong. They don't like that. None of them do." "What are you talking about? What does it have to do with Jake?" Helplessness seeped into her voice, but he just shook his head, disappointment etched across his face. "Your boy has become part of the story, Claire. There's no stopping it now. It's what he wanted." Claire recoiled, confusion morphing into anger. "You're lying. He's just a kid. He wouldn't want this." Her fists clenched, grounding herself against the onslaught of fear threatening to consume her. "Perhaps you do not understand who he truly is," he replied, an edge of amusement in his tone. "This has been set into motion long ago." With that, he melted back into the darkness, leaving her alone with her spiraling dread. The weight of his words crashed into her like a tidal wave. Jake wanted this? What did Mr. Donovan know? Suddenly, she heard it, a soft whisper weaving through the night air. "Mom, help me." It echoed like a haunting melody. The sound came from deep within the woods. Claire's heart raced, a wild panic igniting her limbs as she sprinted toward the source, branches clawing at her clothes. "Jake!" she cried, her voice catching on the fraying edges of despair. With each step, the whispers grew stronger, twisting in her mind like a haunting lullaby. Reaching the thicket, the echo of his voice faded into silence. Then she spotted a small clearing where an ancient tree stood, gnarled and twisted as if it had been alive for centuries. And beneath it, the faint outline of a boy. Fear curled in her stomach, yet she ran towards him. As she reached the clearing, reality warped and wavered, shadows roiling around her. Jake lay still, his form bathed in dim light, but his eyes remained closed, an unnatural peace draped over him. "Jake!" Claire's voice cracked, desperation screaming through her veins. "Wake up, please. We need to go home." But as she knelt beside him, the ground trembled. Dark wisps rose from the earth, swirling like angry spirits. They coiled around her, pulling her into a smothering embrace, the voices rising again, low whispers tangled with agony, and in that moment, an overwhelming thought pierced through the chaos. What if the truth about the soldiers and their past was more terrifying than she could ever imagine? The world shuddered as Claire screamed, a chilling echo in the night, but the shadows only seemed to grow darker. Would she realize before it was too late? The weight of darkness pressed down on Claire as she knelt in the clearing. The coiling shadows tightened around her limbs, whispering secrets she was not meant to hear. Panic surged in her chest. She tried to shake them off, but they felt otherworldly, like smoke trying to envelop her completely. "Jake!" she cried again, her voice now breaking. It echoed into the void, swallowed by the oppressive night. The ground beneath her felt alive, trembling and pulsing like a heart that had forgotten its purpose, and then, from somewhere buried deep in the murmurs, a shimmering voice broke through. "Mom!" It was clearer this time, more desperate. Instinctively, she leaned toward the place where Jake lay, but as she reached for him, the shadows hissed, a cold wind shredding the sound, taunting her. Suddenly, the whispers shifted, turning into laughter that splintered the air with a sharp crack. It didn't belong to her son. Claire's body seized with dread as images flared in her mind, the faces of soldiers, their eyes reflecting terror and darkness. The story, she remembered Mr. Donovan's words. Had Jake become entangled in their cursed fate? The shadows pulsed, and with each heartbeat, they seemed to thicken, reaching for her, grasping greedily at her wrist. She yanked away, her heart racing, desperate to keep herself grounded in a reality that felt like it was slipping away. "Jake! Please, wake up!" Her words tumbled out frantically, echoing through the trees, and just like that, the ground stopped trembling. She hesitated, breath caught in her throat. Was it over? Had the shadows lost interest? The laughter faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. Gathering every ounce of courage, Claire leaned closer to Jake. His face was peaceful, but it made her gut twist. The peace felt wrong, unnatural. "Jake, please!" She whispered urgently, shaking his shoulders gently, and then, his eyelids fluttered. In that instant, the wind picked up, swirling leaves around them, a macabre dance underscoring the moment. "Mom." His voice was soft, almost dreamlike, but Claire clung to it like a lifeline. "Yes, baby. I'm here." But his eyes opened wide, locking onto hers, and what sprang forth was not the joyful light she had hoped for. There was a darkness behind Jake's gaze, a flicker of something ancient and knowing. It sent a chill down Claire's spine. "Help me, Mom," he said again, but now it was different. The words lingered ominously, hanging in the air. As she looked into those eyes, a sudden flood of memories crashed into her. The tales of soldiers lost, the whispers of sacrifices made for some unspeakable promise. They weren't just stories. They were Jake's inheritance. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the ground shook violently, and roots erupted from beneath, snaking around them like serpents, pulling Claire back from Jake. "No!" she screamed, reaching out for him. "Don't leave me!" An intense light swallowed the clearing, flooding her vision, pushing her body back, breaking her grip. She fell away, disoriented, gasping. Amid the storm of chaos, Claire caught a glimpse of Jake. He was being pulled beneath the gnarled roots, his face stricken with dread. "Mom!" He cried one last time, and the earth closed over him, silence plunging into her heart like a knife. Desperation clawed at Claire, urging her to act. She scrambled to her feet, eyes searching wildly for any sign of her son among the shifting roots and shadows, but the whispers had returned, rising to a cacophony, promising riddles of honor and betrayal. "They don't want him," they chanted. "He belongs to us now." Fumbling backward, Claire bumped into the ancient tree, its bark cold against her back. She needed to find a way out, a way to save her son. The weight of the shadows pressed heavily on her. The air was thickening, wrapping her in dread like a shroud. As panic surged again, a sliver of hope flickered. What if Mr. Donovan was right? What if she could navigate this dark place? Before fear could clutch her throat once more, she heard another whisper, cutting through the chaos. "Find the truth, Claire. Then you will find your son." And just as she felt the ground shift again, she was seized with a chilling realization: the treachery of the soldier's past was intertwined with her family. Was she about to unlock the door to a horror hidden for decades? With a deep breath, she steadied herself, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. Would she unravel the truth before it cost her everything? The shadows writhed violently, and a sinister feeling settled over her. She turned to face the dark woods. The hunt for Jake was only just beginning. The air felt thick, heavy with anticipation as Claire stood at the edge of the clearing. The shadows twisted and turned, mocking her futile attempts to find Jake. Every inch of the darkness was alive, reverberating with the whispers of those lost. The chilling laughter still echoed in her ears, a reminder of what she was battling against. Find the truth. The words replayed in her mind, grasping at the threads of courage she had left. She shifted her focus to the tree behind her, pressing her palm against the rough bark. It had stood there for centuries, a silent witness to the horrors surrounding them. Was it a protector, or part of the curse? A sudden shudder ran through the ground, forcing Claire to stumble. All her instincts screamed to run, to escape this nightmare, but the thought of leaving Jake behind clenched her heart in a vice. "Jake!" she screamed, wishing her voice would pierce through the veil of madness. "I want to leave you. But as the darkness danced, unyielding, the whispers transformed into cries, wails of despair and anguish reverberating through the woods. "You cannot save him!" they shrieked, snaking around her like tendrils of smoke, tightening their grip. "We are his now." The shadows writhed, drawing near, their grotesque forms twisting into shapes half-remembered from nightmares. She could make out faces, distorted and twisted, emerging from the gloom. Soldiers, their eyes hollow and pleading, grasped at her with bony fingers made of shadow. "You have to let him go," one voice screamed, breaking through the cacophony. It was laden with sorrow, weighed down by generations of unspoken grief. Claire's breath caught in her throat. "Only then will you find peace." What kind of peace could she possibly find devoid of her son? The wind howled, and memories flooded back, jokes shared over dinner, bedtime stories filled with dreams, and laughter that danced through their home. The thought of Jake trapped in this nightmare, his warmth extinguished, sent ice through her veins. Panic surged again, but a thread of anger ignited within her. "No!" Claire thundered, shaking off the shadow's grip, channeling every ounce of love for her son. "I will not let you take him. I will uncover your secret." With resolve surging through her, she planted her feet firmly on the ground, ignoring the writhing shadows that lunged at her. "You'll tell me everything," she demanded, her voice slicing through the darkness with a newfound strength. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. The shadows paused, contemplative. A shudder ran through the air, and then, as if inviting her to a twisted game, the whispers turned conspiratorial. "What do you seek?" they hissed, coiling around her ears. "I seek to know what you've done. What you want from our family." A low rumble echoed from the depths of the woods. The shadows surged forward, and as they did, images flickered in front of her: a battlefield bathed in crimson fog, soldiers making a pact, screams that froze time itself. "You must understand the cost," a voice murmured, intertwining with the echoes of the past. "Tell me," Claire cried, desperation mingling with determination. The laughter returned, cruel and rasping. With each cruel note, the ground beneath her trembled, and the roots started to draw back, revealing a glint of something buried deep. Was it a clue, a remnant of the horror that ensnared Jake? As the soil shifted, a deeply buried box emerged, its edges slick with darkness. Could this be the key to unraveling the tragedy? Claire reached for it, but the shadows shrieked, launching at her with renewed malice. "No! You cannot take what is ours!" they screamed. She had to act quickly while she had the chance. Heart pounding, Claire lunged for the box, and just as her fingers brushed against its cold surface, the shadows rushed in, eager to claim their prize. The world around her screamed. The air ignited with terror, and as she clutched the box, a searing image flashed in her mind: a price paid long ago, binding souls across generations. Claire felt the pull of fate, threatening to consume her in the chaos. The shadows tightened their grip, and she could sense their anger, their desperation. Would the truth she sought spell Jake's salvation or summon greater horrors? The branches above began to snap, and Claire felt time slipping away. She had to open the box, there was no other choice. With the shadows shrieking behind her, Claire steeled herself for the revelation that awaited within, unaware of the dark forces stirring, eager to reveal their terrible secret. Claire's heart raced as she felt the chilling anticipation swell around her. She clutched the box tightly, every breath laced with overwhelming dread. The shadows howled louder, their wails mixing with the rustling leaves like a hellish symphony. "Open it!" a voice beckoned, dripping with malice, sending chills skittering down her spine. She could see fragments of memories swirling in the air, visions of battlefields drenched in sweat and blood, faces of soldiers twisted in agony. They lurked just beyond the veil, eyes wide with terror, mouths frozen in silent screams. Claire's hands trembled as she fumbled with the latch of the box, feeling a pull deep within her that both terrified and compelled her to pry it open. "No!" she shouted, forcing her will against the shadows that clawed at her again, their grasp growing tighter. "I will not be afraid." With one final burst of determination, Claire snapped the latch. The box groaned open, and a rush of cold air surged around her, dragging with it the scent of earth and decay. Inside, wrapped in a tattered piece of cloth, lay a small, ornate dagger. Its blade shimmered ominously, as if it had absorbed the very darkness that surrounded them. A realization struck her: this weapon was something more than a tool of death. It was part of a ritual, a pact carved into the very fabric of this cursed land. As she lifted the dagger, a surge of power coursed through her. The whispers intensified, overlapping until they formed a cacophony. "Release us. End the cycle. It is your fault." The shadows echoed, their voices drowning out her thoughts. Images flowed around her, crystal clear yet horrifying: the soldiers, bound to this forest, their souls ensnared within the shadows she now faced. "Your choice was made long ago." One particularly sinister voice croaked. It sounded familiar, almost like Jake. "You must understand what is to be done to break the curse." "No!" she screamed, clutching the dagger tighter, its cold grip grounding her amidst the chaos. "I'm not doing this. I'll find a way to save him without killing anyone." The shadows flickered, momentarily retreating, as if they were testing her resolve. Claire noticed how their grotesque forms faded slightly, revealing remnants of the soldiers' faces, the anguish still etched upon them. They were once brave, but now they resembled lost souls, victims of a dark promise. "What will you sacrifice to free him?" they whispered, drawing closer once more. Their eyes bored into her, muddy and hollow, yearning for release. The air thickened again, wrapping around her like a vice. Memories of Jake, his laughter, his kindness flooded her mind. A wave of strength surged within her. "I'll do whatever it takes. I'll fight for him." The dagger pulsed with energy, a bond forming between them. The voices grew frantic, threatening, but Claire stood firm. She realized she held the power to rewrite the narrative, to recast the fate that had gripped these tortured souls. With newfound clarity, she turned the dagger towards the ground. "Show me. Reveal the truth behind this curse." Instantly, a vision exploded in her mind, vivid and horrific, a grotesque ritual, soldiers bound to make sacrifices that tethered them to this place, victims to a cycle they couldn't escape. Claire gasped as she understood the price of freedom, a blood pact woven through time. The shadows screeched once more, tumbling toward her with vengeance. "You think you can change fate? You will pay dearly." Claire's heart pounded like a drum, her grip faltering. With every ounce of willpower, she knew she had to act. As their forms rushed toward her, she felt the weight of her choices descending. Just then, she saw blinding flashes of light like memories twisting in and out of time. Before she could process it, a figure emerged from the depths of the shadows, moving with an unnatural grace. "Drop the blade." The figure commanded, their voice commanding and eerily familiar. Was it a savior? Or yet another nightmare? As Claire's gaze landed on the face emerging from the darkness, her breath hitched. The recognition sent shockwaves through her, revealing something she never expected. Who stood before her, and what did they mean for Jake? The figure stepped into the faint light, the shadows recoiling as if they recognized a greater darkness. Claire's heart stopped. Jake. The name slipped from her lips like a frayed whisper. It was him, but not the Jake she knew. This version of him looked older, burdened by scars that marred his once hopeful face. His eyes burned with urgency and an unspoken sadness, deep pools of despair pulling her in. "Claire, you shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice laced with both warning and longing. "It's worse than you understand." The dagger quivered in her hand, a pulse matching her frantic heart. "I was trying to find you. I believed I could save you." She stepped closer, her desperation spilling over. "Save me? There is no saving here." He took a step back, eyes wide in horror. "This place, it traps souls. It locked me away, and now it's reached out to you. Something twisted inside Claire, each word falling like a stone into a deep well of uncertainty. I have to break the curse. I have to free you in them. She gestured to the figures lurking in the shadows, faces twisted in longing and agony. No. Jake's voice was sharp as glass. You mustn't. The price is too high. Tender memories flashed back, quiet evenings, laughter, love. She felt a broken heartbeat in her chest, a throbbing rhythm of pain and hope entwined. What sacrifice? He glanced over his shoulder, nerves prickling as if shadows were creeping toward them. A life for a life. You'll have to give up your own or someone close to you. The dagger glinted wickedly. The weight of the weapon in her hand felt heavier now, the cold metal almost pulsing with a sinister allure. Take me with you. I refuse to give in. Her voice was a battle cry against the encroaching darkness that sought to drown her, but Jake shook his head vigorously, anguish etched across his face. No. This isn't the way. He stepped forward, desperation growing in his eyes. You need to run. I can't let you fall into this. The shadows swarmed at their edges, flickering with energy, drawn to the tension. Collectively, they hissed like a windstorm brewing, each whisper threading through the treetops. Release us. Choose. Choose. It was a dark symphony of voices, echoing her worst fears. Each face in the shadows wore traces of agony, of cool betrayal, seeking escape. In her gut, Claire felt it, a twisting sickness that wrapped itself around her spine. Jake, I can't leave you here. She screamed, her voice rising above the chaos. Not again. I won't let it take you. It's too late, Claire. You've already entered the cycle. He looked at her, desperation fading to resignation. You must make a choice. Save yourself, or try to save the trapped souls. As he spoke, the dagger resonated with dark energy. She felt its pull intensifying, and realization struck. This weapon was the key, not just to release, but to bind fate to a darker desire. Then I won't let it end like this. Claire cried, shoving the dagger toward the night sky, the energy crackling to life, but before she could channel the power, shadows surged forward, wrapping her in cold fingers that scraped against her skin. Their wails pierced her resolve. You will pay the price. They shrieked, along with echoes of the souls trapped. You will not escape. Plunged into chaos, Claire glanced back at Jake, his features fading into the swirling gloom, torn between the fight and the inevitable. The urgency of the moment wrapped around her like a noose, leaving only questions to grapple with. Who will be sacrificed? The echoing whispers persisted, clawing at her mind. Claire's heart raced against the encroaching darkness. She had to choose, but the answer evaded her grasp, slipping like smoke. As shadows engulfed her, she felt Jake's hand brush against hers, a single spark. Save me. His voice was now both a plea and a command, torn between love and sacrifice. She closed her eyes, feeling the weight of their fate bearing down upon her. What would she dare to lose? The dagger pulsed in her grip, and she knew the decision loomed like a storm cloud on the horizon, ready to break. Would she fight or give in? And what would it cost her? In that moment, darkness wrapped around Claire, and she vanished into the abyss, the dagger whispering promises of power and terror as the shadows danced around her. Could she reclaim Jake from the darkness, or would she be ensnared forever in its nightmarish grasp? Claire's heartbeat was the only sound in the suffocating dark, each thump echoing her fear. The shadows tightened their grip, probing deeper into her mind, searching for her deepest fears. They spun tales of dread, weaving in memories of laughter now cloaked in sorrow. Where was Jake? Was he lost forever inside this twisted nightmare? A voice, smooth and deceptive, cut through the darkness. You shouldn't have come, sweet Claire. It came from behind her, the breath cold against her neck, sending shivers coursing down her spine. Who is there? She turned, knife raised, but encountered only the swirling shadows. They seemed to shift and writhe, hungry for her despair. Show yourself. Such bravery, the voice laughed, mocking. But it's foolishness you wear like armor. Panic clawed at her throat as she remembered the touch of Jake's hand. The warmth of that fleeting moment faded, and she felt more alone than ever. Claire forced down her rising dread, her hand trembling around the dagger. She couldn't give in, she wouldn't surrender to this darkness. Suddenly, a flash illuminated her surroundings. The light flickered like a frantic heartbeat before plunging her back into shadow. Was it a trick? A desperate illusion? She stepped forward, hoping to break free of the clutches of despair. Then, through the haze, a flicker of figures emerged, anguished faces from the shadows, twisted in suffering. They drifted, pulled by unseen strings, mouths moving in a horrid silence. Claire took a step back, dread curling in her stomach. "Help us!" A voice cried, barely coherent, filled with raw pain. "No. Don't listen to them." Jake's voice erupted, slicing through the cacophony. "They are deceivers. They want to drag you into the void. What do you want from me?" Claire shouted back, her voice hoarse and cracking under the weight of her fear. The faces stared, pleading, their eyes wells of anguish. "I can't save you if I'm chained to this place." The shadows hissed, a whispering wind swirling around her, filling her head with promises. "Free us, and you will be free too. Fill the void, feed the darkness." "No!" she shouted, clutching the dagger like a lifeline. "I want to be a pawn in your game." But then came another heartbeat, this one not her own. It pulsed from the dagger, thrumming with dark energy, calling her to embrace it. "Give in," it whispered, seductive and sinister. The shadows quivered with expectation, leaning closer, their forms bending and curling in anticipation. Claire clenched her teeth, the weight of the moment pressing down like an anvil on her chest. "Choose." They screamed, the collective wail reverberating through her skull. "Your fate is sealed within the blood of another." For a split second, she thought of her family, of those she loved back in the world she once knew. Could she let someone else fall in her place? The burden pressed against her. "Stop it!" she screamed, collapsing to her knees, the dagger digging into her palm. "I want to choose. I refuse." The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if stung. And then they surged forward, a black tide seeking to consume her, to drown out her defiance with their wretched longing. "Use it. Use your fear." Jake's voice broke through, a fragile lifeline in the storm. "Fight, Claire. Fight for us." With tears streaming down her cheeks, Claire rose. She thrust the dagger upward, a sudden surge of rebellion coursing through her veins. "I want to be afraid." The dagger glowed, a sharp light cutting through the oppressive dark, illuminating faces around her, some familiar, some twisted in torment. The energy crackled and surged like angry lightning, and she could feel the shadows recoil. "Stop her!" 1,000 voices cried, fear laced through their desperation. "I'll save you, even if I have to fight." Claire shouted, emboldened by a flicker of hope. But even as the light pushed away the shadows, she felt the dread settle in her gut. What if the light only fueled their anger? What if the fight didn't bring freedom but further entrapment? With her pulse racing, she realized the truth: whatever she unleashed could cost her everything, including the very love she sought to save. As the darkness writhed, a new voice rose above all, the one who had remained silent, watching from a distance. "You think you're strong enough to control the dagger's power? Who are you?" She breathed, fear creeping back. "No one and everyone." The figure emerged, cloaked in billowing shadows, revealing nothing but eyes burning embers of malice. "You'll learn soon enough, Claire. Power demands sacrifice, and I am here to collect." And just like that, Claire's world tipped back into chaos, the light dimming as the darkness closed in, unfurling its terrible secrets. A new challenge loomed, and she wouldn't know if it would be salvation or destruction until it was too late. What debt was she truly bound to pay? In the heartbeat of silence that followed, the shadows whispered again, a fresh wave of terror rising. Will you heed the darkness that beckons? The air thickened with an oppressive heat, wrapping itself around Claire like a suffocating blanket. Shadows pulsed in rhythm with her quickening heart, eager to exploit her fear. Distant whispers rooted in agony surrounded her, weaving into a dissonant symphony of despair. She felt the weight of the dagger in her grip, its power both a blessing and a curse. What do you want? Claire shouted, her voice barely echoing through the vast emptiness. The cloaked figure stepped closer, the void around it seeming to writhe and pulse, as if alive. You've awoken the power, but that comes with a price. The eyes, now glinting like malicious stars, bored into Claire's soul. What will you give? Life or death? Freedom or bondage? Claire staggered back, her mind racing. The guilt of her past decisions clawed at her. She thought of Jake, his laughter, their dreams, now nowhere to be found in this abyss. A shiver ran down her spine. I refuse to let anyone else suffer because of me, she declared, though her voice trembled. Brave words for one so afraid, the figure sneered. The dagger amplifies your essence. You must embrace the darkness within or succumb to it. Before she could respond, the shadows roared, a dark surge crashing against her. They poured forward like water, reaching for her, caressing her skin with clammy fingers that felt almost comforting despite their intent. Panic surged. Claire swung her dagger in a desperate arc, creating a shockwave of light that repelled them, if only for a moment. Jake! She screamed, but her voice was drowned out by the cacophony of suffering. The faces haunting her, twisting in agony, approached closer, mouths opening wide but no sounds escaped. They clawed at her sanity, their silent screams igniting nightmares that danced before her eyes. Claire, remember. Jake's voice surged against the tide, muffled yet filled with urgency. You hold the choice to change it all. Do not let them dim your light. As if in response, the dagger flared, illuminating the dark around her. For a fleeting moment, she could almost see Jake's outline, desperate and reaching for her through the obsidian mist. The shadows recoiled violently, screeching, no. She must embrace the void. She must sacrifice. Sweat dripped from her brow, her breath coming in ragged gasps. What do you mean sacrifice? Claire shouted, the despair threatening to suffocate her. The one who awakens the dagger must give what is most precious, the figure hissed, its smile leering, or crumble beneath the weight of her choices. What will you sacrifice to save him? She clutched the dagger tighter, pain biting into her palm as dread enveloped her. Her mind whirled with terrible possibilities. Could she allow someone else's life to be extinguished just to save Jake? What had she unleashed with her courage? The shadows lunged again, and Claire felt the air electrify. No! She cried, screaming as the faces merged into a singular, monstrous visage, a torrent of sorrow. The dagger vibrated violently, resonating with her fear, begging her to choose, to act. Choose, Claire. The abyssal figure rasped, twisting under the weight of its own malice, glaring with its burning eyes. Choose now. The darkness pressed in, hungry and ravenous, but her connection to Jake felt like a beacon in the chaos. Suddenly a thought struck her, a strike of bravery amid the fear. What if she didn't have to sacrifice anything? What if they could fight together? Together we can break this nightmare. She shouted, determination igniting in her chest, yet just as her resolve solidified, the shadows surged back, threatening to swallow her whole again. You will pay for this defiance, sweet Claire. Will you shatter under the dread or embrace the darkness? Claire faced the encompassing void, breathless, with dread coiling tighter around her heart. A choice loomed ahead. Would she falter or find strength in the love she fought so hard to preserve? The space felt heavy with anticipation, the silent screams echoing in her mind, whispering doubts, filling her with terror. How much longer can I hold on? With a final gasp, her only friend, her love, pushed through the turmoil. Fight, Claire. Echoed from the depths of her despair, but as the shadows closed in, each heartbeat brought her one step closer to a choice she wasn't ready to make. What dark truths awaited her in the depths of her dread? A guttural roar erupted from the darkness, shaking the very foundation of Claire's resolve. The shadows, now a swirling tempest of anguish, surged forward, clawing at her sanity. She could almost taste the bitterness of despair on her tongue as she brandished the dagger, feeling its power pulse through her veins, warm, intoxicating, and dangerously seductive. "Don't you understand?" The cloaked figure spat, its voice like gravel scraping against stone. "You are not the first. Many have wielded the dagger, and all have paid the price. You think you can defy fate?" The faces of the tortured souls began to shimmer in the dark, their features morphing into grotesque parodies of those she lost. Jake's face twisted into one of horror, despair etching deeper lines around his eyes. "Claire! Choose me!" he pleaded, his voice breaking against the weight of the shadows. "Stop!" Her heart raced. This wasn't just about Jake anymore. The weight of each soul pressed down upon her like 1,000 stone chains. Claire could feel her breath quickening, panic clawing its way up her throat. They only wanted her to choose life or death, but neither outcome felt savory anymore. Every instinct in her screamed to flee, yet she stood firmly against the encroaching abyss. With Jake's voice echoing in her mind, she gripped the dagger tighter, summoning every nerve ending in her body to push against the tide of despair. What was it she truly wanted? "Your essence," the figure hissed, pulling her focus once more. "To save one, you must cast another into darkness. It's the only way." "No." Claire's voice quaked, defiance filling her lungs. "I want to let this nightmare dictate my choices. I refuse." The shadows writhed, growing angrier, louder. A visceral chorus of wails erupted, drowning her determination in a sea of sorrow and despair. Suddenly, Claire felt the dagger warm to a searing heat, reacting to her conviction. "Embrace your fear." The figure roared, its eyes narrowing. "Let it fuel you." "Love is weakness." "No," Claire gasped, feeling a spark ignite inside her. "Love is strength." The dagger burst forth, a blinding light emanating from its blade, tearing through the suffocating darkness like a beacon of hope. The shadows recoiled, screeching as the light unraveled their grasp. Faces twisted in fury and despair wavered, but Claire's heart raced with purpose. "We're stronger together," she shouted, the light reflecting in her eyes, momentarily illuminating the chaos. A new rhythm pulsed in the air, a heartbeat resonating with the dagger, harmonizing with the love she felt for Jake and the others. Claire felt an unexpected force surge through her, a tidal wave of emotions fueling her power. "You don't control me," she screamed, channeling the warmth through her outstretched arm, but as the light cut through the void, it also began to flicker, dimming as cracks materialized in its foundation. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of madness clawing at her consciousness. "You cannot escape your fate. The darkness feeds on fear, and you will see your loved ones drown." "No," she shouted, defiance ringing in the cold air. The dagger quivered, uncertain under her grip, it sensed her fear, her doubt. Suddenly, a familiar voice shattered the chaos. "Claire, believe." It was Jake's voice, clearer than before, echoing through the void. The shadows swirled violently as Claire's resolve renewed, casting light in the dark places of her mind. But the encroaching shadows were not done with her yet. They coiled tighter, desperate to extinguish her light. Time slowed as Claire's heart raced. With every ounce of her being, she knew she had to choose once more. Would she sacrifice her own light to save Jake, or would she find a way to weave their destinies together? "Whatever it takes," she whispered through clenched teeth, the dagger vibrating in agreement, ready to unleash its true power. But as she steadied herself, the shadows shuddered ominously, whispering a truth she dared not acknowledge. "But can you truly pay the price for him?" The air crackled with tension, and a sinking dread swept over her. What more would she have to unveil in the heart of the darkness? The moment hung in limbo, a storm brewing in the depths. What would she discover when she finally embraced her truth? The storm of shadows swirled around Claire as she struggled with the weight of the dagger in her hand. Every flicker of light fought against the unyielding darkness. The weight of sacrifices long past pressed against her, their anguished faces looming in her mind. And there, among the chaos, whispered Jake's voice. "Believe, Mom. We can break this together." With renewed determination, Claire steadied herself. The shadows writhed, eager to feast on her doubts, to claim her fear as nourishment. But deep within her, love surged like a flame against the encroaching doom. "You will not take him from me. I choose him," she shouted, voice cracking, fearless. The dagger ignited at her declaration, light burst forth in an explosion of warmth, cascading across the clearing. Shadows screamed, their forms contorting in agony as they recoiled from the brilliance. Claire raised the dagger high, channeling every tear, every laugh she had shared with Jake, and every desperate heartbeat that cried out for her son. "Jake, hold on." Her voice tore through the turmoil as she felt him reaching out through the darkness. The whispers morphed into an unbearable cacophony, but Claire found focus. She would break this cycle. "I want to be a part of your darkness." She thrust the dagger downward, the blade dancing on the edge of fear and power. "I choose love. I choose life." The light exploded, radiating forth and illuminating the faces of the lost souls, revealing their tragic histories bound to the soldiers long dead. A shift occurred. Claire felt the air grow heavy, charged with anticipation and regret. "If you want to be free, you must see the truth," a voice wailed, barely audible amidst the chaos. As Claire fought to maintain her grip, visions flooded her mind. Soldiers lost to the call of bravery, bound by a dark promise. Each choice intertwined with lives owed and lives taken, a tapestry of sacrifice woven with love and loss. The dagger pulsed brighter, whispering to be unleashed, revealing the depths of the soldier's anguish. "I understand now," Claire gasped, determination swelling. "Your pain lies in your choices. But I refuse to repeat a cycle of torment." The shadows shifted, a trembling echo of realization spreading through them. As if her words struck a chord, they momentarily froze, unwilling to accept the truth of her declaration. "To break the cycle, we must confront it. I won't let fear control me or you." Jake's plea broke through again, stronger than ever. "Mom. It's time to connect the love that binds us." With that spark of connection, Claire threw herself deeper into the light, focusing on Jake, on all the memories they had forged together. A brilliant light shot out from the dagger, intertwining their souls. The shadows wailed louder, furious at her resolve. They clawed at her, desperately trying to drag her back, but Claire stood firm, her resolve like iron against the storm. "I'm coming, Jake. We're breaking free together." In a spectacular burst, she threw the dagger into the ground before them, and the surge of light shattered the darkness. Threads of fate entwined with brilliance, illuminating the clearing as vibrant colors spilled forth. Blues, golds, and greens erupted around them, chasing away the shadows. Faces of soldiers emerged, some in rage but others with hope. "Let the truth be known," Claire cried out, channeling her love, her fears, and her longing. "You are free to choose." The shadows writhed furiously, and those once trapped among them began to shimmer, their forms flickering as they wavered between realms. One by one, they turned toward the glowing light, hesitant but yearning. Their faces softened, and Claire's heart soared. "Jake! Hold my hand." The air shimmered with magic, the power that love wrought, binding them even through the dark. As she reached for him, the light surged, growing brighter, forcing the shadows to cry out in anguish. "Mom!" Jake called, finally breaking free from the shadow's grasp and rushing into her arms. "I knew you would come." With Jake by her side, the energy of their united resolve pulsed through them, dismissing the darkness. As the last remnants of the shadows howled, obscured memories fading against the brilliance, a new dawn broke over the clearing, the first hints of warmth kissing the air. Their surroundings glowed with light, the soldiers' faces transformed, freed from anguish. Claire felt the cool weight lift from her heart. All at once, memories of joy filled the space, mingling with echoes of laughter, love, and hope. This was right, they had broken the cycle, the darkness dissipated, leaving behind only a gentle breeze, rustling through the leaves. Claire breathed deeply, feeling the warmth of Jake beside her. He was safe. A single soldier stood before them, not lost to shadows but a guardian of the realm. You have chosen love, breaking the curse binding us long ago. Fear no longer holds sway here. Claire smiled through her tears, turning to Jake, who grinned back with a spark of hope. In that moment, they knew they could carry this light back into their lives, reminder of their strength and connection. As they stepped back into the peaceful embrace of their home, they left the shadows behind, finally free. Claire felt lightness in her heart, a swelling joy that echoed her son's laughter. They had faced the darkness together, carving out a path to preserve the light of love. And somewhere from the clearing, whispers of the soldiers echoed, no longer a haunting memory but a testament to choices made, the price of love always spent together. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Don't wait even one more second. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and let us keep powering these stories forward. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. I want to hear your thoughts. And make sure to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.